All right, welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. My mission is to raise the awareness of trauma and to support and inspire new trauma therapists just starting out on the trauma-informed journey. I do that with my membership community, Trauma Therapist 2.0, my online courses and workshops, and the Trauma Therapist newsletter. If you're a therapist of any kind and you work with individuals who've been impacted by trauma, I invite you to head on over to my website at thetraumatherapistproject.com. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com. All right, let's get started. All right, here we go. Are you ready?
I am.
All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks, welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson, and I'm very excited to have as my guest today, Nikki Eisenhauer. Nikki, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So Nikki is a professional psychotherapist, an international life coach, yoga teacher, and host of the podcast, Emotional Badass, where Moxie Meets Mindful. In 2017, she launched a podcast to spread healing, empowerment, and hope to highly sensitive people, empaths, survivors, and seekers all over the world. Drawing from her personal experiences as a survivor of childhood abuse and the years she spent as a psychotherapist and life coach, she mindfully designed the show to be the emotional education so many of us crave. Nikki, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited.
All right. So before we get going, share with our listeners where you are from originally and where you are currently.
I am a New Orleans native.
Oh, wow.
So I was born and raised in New Orleans. I left when I was 29. I left a little bit for Katrina, but I went back the same year. That's really where I was a baby counselor. That's where I started my career, ended college, and started my internship. It was right after Katrina in addiction.
Wow.
So I went from Louisiana to Texas for about 6 years. That's where I started working for myself and had a thriving therapy business, or I was turning people away. And then I felt called to the mountains. And so everybody thought I was a little bonkers, a little cuckoo to leave my business I had built up, but I really felt called. So I'm with you today from Denver.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into this. How the heck did you get into this field?
I got into this field. Why I think most of us get into this field to figure ourselves out. I had originally wanted to be a teacher, and in New Orleans, there was a lot of roughness that was happening when I was a student with teachers. And I started thinking, this is not a fit for me. And when I looked at what I was really interested in, I really realized, I've taken every psychology class I possibly could. So I finished that degree. I have a psychology degree. And then I went into counseling. And I had been going to counselors since I was a very little girl with night terrors. My father abandoned me by the time I was about 10. That gave me a whole lot of attachment trauma. And I just felt like a raw nerve. And so going through school, I had a nervous breakdown. That's what we call it in the general population. When I tried to put my dad into prison for molesting me and my siblings and a childhood friend. And that TV news stations came out. I was at the police station for 12 hours. It was during my graduate program in counseling. And I remember sending a message to my professor saying, I'm checking myself into a psych unit. This is what's going on with me. I explained, I obviously cannot be a counselor because I'm crazy. And I guess I have to drop out of the program and I won't be in class tonight. And she emailed me back. It'll still choke me up a little bit. And that's part of my thing, that we can have emotions and we can still be strong. I think we need to show that to more people. But she messaged me back immediately and said, good for you. More people should take a mental health vacation. Come back to school whenever you come out. And I came out and I shared very authentically, this is what's happening. This is where I went. I spent 11 days and it absolutely held me and carried me through. And I think from that moment forward, I have learned how to be more of an authentic person, how to not hide from who I am. Very much born a true speaker. And that's what got me into this field. Because of Hurricane Katrina, I couldn't choose the internship I wanted. I fell into addiction because that was what was available. And I started realizing how trauma related to addiction. I'm from New Orleans. It's the land of vices. We encourage everyone to have every vice as much as possible. So coming from that culture too, I just was steeped in how we avoid feelings, and how healing is really about clearing out all those distractions and being able to feel and move through. So as I saw other people healing, I was doing my own healing, certainly hypervigilant about not wanting my story and my trauma history to affect my clients. So I think in a weird way that hypervigilance helped me in that regard, guard my story from my clients. I've been doing this since 2006. As I continued to develop, I started realizing I think we need more sharing, and started sharing more in appropriate ways with my clients.
Let me just interrupt 1 second, if I may. You said when you were in graduate school,
I had a
started
complete
talking
nervous
about this.
breakdown.
When did the abuse occur?
My mom married someone who had already been accused of molesting his children. So she very much knew. My mother is a sociopath. Of course, I didn't know that growing up. As she partnered with him, I began getting abused at about 12 or 13, but I didn't know. My memories were truly repressed. And I can remember being in college before my memories came back to me, learning about repressed memories and really thinking that's got to be a load of crap. Like that cannot possibly be real. Like you're there for it, you're experiencing it, but something tickled me about that topic in a subconscious way. And it was a few years later when the man I was with tried to initiate sex with me while I was sleeping. And that was how my abuse had occurred, was my stepfather and then adoptive father creeping in my room in the middle of the night wordlessly, and then just starting to touch me. So when that got reenacted in an adult appropriate way, there was nothing wrong with what that man was doing, but it made my memories rush back at age 22. A few weeks before I was getting married, with a big giant marriage. I'm divorced from that person now. So it was an emotional and a cultural, for the culture of my family. I absolutely blew up my family. They were angry. They were hurt. I walked myself down the aisle and watched all those eyes in confusion about why I was walking myself down the aisle. So what I've come to learn is that we think that something like childhood sexual abuse, like so much of the trauma is in the actual moments of being touched. And of course, there's stuff to work on there. But for systematic abuse, when you zoom out, that's really the least of the problem there. It's how everybody else treated me. I could feel and see their eyes of, once they knew that secret about me, they looked at me differently. That really was the trauma.
They looked at you differently.
It scared them. It scared them. It made members of my family have to question maybe some doubts and questions that they had, but they hadn't spoken up. So they felt guilty. They felt ashamed. They didn't know what to do with that, because most Americans, most humans, we don't know what to do with our emotions.
Right.
I have a master's degree. That's more education than most people have on the planet. And I didn't get enough education in how to feel my emotions, with a psychology degree and a counseling degree.
Right.
So I've spent, I'll be 42 this year. With all that education, I spent so much time trying to figure out what the hell it was to actually sit and feel my feelings. That, of course, when you blow up a family by outing the secret of childhood sexual abuse, nobody in that family system knows how to deal with any of those feelings at all.
Right. And especially those feelings, especially that topic is so difficult and challenging, to say the least, to confront, to deal with, to speak about. Nikki, how did you take this experience and say to yourself, or did you say to yourself, I want to help people, I need to work in this field?
I think I felt drawn to counseling. I had originally been drawn to teaching, and I think counseling very much is a teaching profession. I was drawn to it because I had had good counselors over the years. I really, really had. I had had terrible ones too, absolute terrible ones. I had had ones that I didn't think were really smart enough, frankly, to professionally hold space for people in that way. And I wanted to be a good one. I really wanted to grow up and be someone that genuinely helped people, didn't just say, yeah. Tell me more about that. And then send people from my office. I wanted to really affect them, because such simple things in my life had become so dangerous for my adolescent years and my 20s. Like people saying things very innocently, like, oh, your 20s are your best time of your life. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not for anybody. Not just me, who had crazy family dynamics to sort through, PTSD to sort through. That is a hard, confusing time. It's hard to make money for ourselves. It's hard to figure out who we are, what we want, all the influences on us, all our passion, all our ideals at that age that we're having to learn because they're shoved in our face, that things don't happen in the ideal way that we want in our adolescence and our 20s. So there's a lot of grief, a lot of pain. I wanted to help people sort through it because I recognized all the education that I've had, all the counseling that I've had. And frankly, I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I wanted to teach people and show people, I think we need more clarity. And that has really driven me. I've had a passion for it since always.
So when did you start to learn how to deal with it? What helped you? Who helped you? What experiences inspired you?
I found a counselor. I had, just like we say in dating, like we have to kiss a lot of frogs or a lot of toads sometimes. I had to sort of go through a lot of therapists and go, this isn't my match. And it crushed me. It crushed me because I had the idea at the time, like I think a lot of people have seeking counseling, is knowing I need help. But sitting in that counseling chair and really feeling counselors not get me, when you're paying somebody, especially when you're broke, I was very poor, barely keeping it together. There were times when I was sleeping in my car. It was scary. And to be able to do all the work to meet a new counselor, to find one, to schedule with them, have the same availability scheduling, to pay for it when it feels like a whole lot of money when you're barely making ends meet, and to still feel dissatisfied was almost more depressing than any of the actual traumas and struggles that I had gone through. So I think there's a real problem in our field about not acknowledging that, about how really precious and important it is when you let somebody in. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. Did I get off track?
No, you did. I mean, the question was, you talked about the importance of feeling emotions, and my question was, what inspired you to start feeling your own emotions?
Oh yes. So I think desperation sort of forced me. I don't know that I desired to at first. I had to go through and I had to really find that good fit healer. So after having those bad fit healers, I finally found the good fit healer. And the reason that I found her, she had a practice out of her house. Her name's Lisa Tahir. She also has a show. And going to her house, I didn't realize it was a house when I scheduled. And when she first walked outside, I had been losing time. I had very strong PTSD that I thought would always be chronic. I had to get there an hour early to not lose time or not get there. And I was shaking, I was panicking. And I said to her, I didn't know this was a house. And she said, I'm sorry. I have to think about that. She's like, I'm so sorry. I really should tell people that. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that. And I realized in that moment, I don't know that I had ever had anybody simply apologize to me ever in my life without getting defensive, without telling me and lashing out about how, well, I should have figured it out or I shouldn't be upset. And in that moment, something just opened up for me. And the truth is that, we like to make this profession very clinical, very transactional. You come for an hour, you pay. I don't think that's where a lot of the healing happens. She really, without any intention, without us talking about it, she became my spiritual mother. She reparented me. She held space for me. Oh, it'll make me cry as I talk about it, because I know so many people are out there needing that, craving that, coming from emotional neglect, coming from emotional abandonment, to be able to have that person that just sees you week after week and says, you're enough. You're not crazy. Of course you're feeling this. And ultimately, Lisa, years and years of working together, would admit to me, and I felt it to be true. She admitted to me one day, I love you. And I cried and wept. I love you too. It was probably 8 or 9 years after that I was teaching a workshop to other therapists. And I shared that story, and the therapists were getting very squirmy and uncomfortable. We are not supposed to do that. That is not allowed. It's boundaries crossing, bad, bad, shame, shame, right? And someone approached me at the break and she said, I was Lisa's healer. I first told Lisa that I loved her. And it was like my spiritual grandmother in that room, this full circle moment. And she hugged me and she left the room and texted Lisa. And that really is, I think, the spirit of true healing, of true emotional development. All of my pain and hurt in this life, that didn't happen to me in a bubble. And most of our pain in this life that really, I believe, encodes traumatically comes from the betrayal of other human beings.
Mm.
Okay? It's not just that sexual abuse, it's that betrayal.
Right. So almost the exact opposite of what you're talking about, the
Yes.
beauty of the
Yes.
connecting with.
So if
loving.
that hurt and that pain and that trauma and how it encoded in my system was from the hurt of other people, then it makes so much sense to me now that I didn't understand back then, that it was only really going to be from bonding and connecting with another human being that would help that trauma leave my body, as much as it's my work to do as the client with the therapist. And it cannot be that a therapist advertises, I will love you, come work with me. Right. That's not how it works. That has to genuinely form through the work and through the bond.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. I mean, this is why I do what I do, to get to speak to people like you. And I sincerely mean that. I mean, you are the beauty of the work. I mean, it's so inspiring to hear you and to see you share what you're sharing. I'm wondering, Nikki, if that level of emotion, that level of feeling, that type of connection, was that challenge for you to experience as when you started out?
It was hard for me to believe. It was hard for me to believe with someone who had divorced parents, all of those parents being narcissists, some of them being sociopaths. I believe many of us cannot fathom that if the very people that brought us into this world are so inadequate to toxic, that's the range, right? There are inadequate influences and parents that we experience, and then there are toxic ones, okay? And some of us get the combination of the two. From that inadequacy, from that toxicity, it was so hard for me to believe that this random person in the world that I pay could genuinely love me. Isn't that supposed to be wrong? So it took time for those societal teachings, even going through counseling school as a counselor. I was a counselor by the time I was working with her, being taught that, wait a minute, that's not right. That's not okay. You're not supposed to get that in this environment. Love is not what's exchanged here. It's clinical techniques, right? Mm-hmm. It's not love and care. Mm-hmm. That I had to work through that too. Mm-hmm. In addition to me sharing with anybody in my personal world who didn't get counseling. And New Orleans is a place where when I told people in my world, my family, my friends, oh, I want to go into counseling. In Louisiana, we do not value self-development. We value being the same always. And there's a comfort to that. If I go back to New Orleans today, I guarantee you from my 20s working in bars and such, I can walk into some of those bars and the same butts will be on those bar stools. And that's a special thing. That's a kind of comfort in a weird way.
Right.
When that is the culture, you do not value change and growth and self-development. So when I would say that to people, they would go, why? You want to hear people cry all day? Mm-hmm. In every other place that I've lived in 2 other states, you say, oh, I'm a counselor. They go, oh, that must be great. You want to help people. So coming from that culture also, and me sharing, I think my counselor really loves me. And she's helping me. Come on, you don't buy into that, do you? You pay this lady. We're taught that can't be, that's wrong. So I had to work through so much to be able to accept and really believe that I was lovable and loved. Because so much of the pain, no matter how much we analyze every little piece of it, it all just boils down to that, doesn't it?
You are, I mean, clearly on a mission.
Oh yeah.
And you can I can feel it just emanating from you. How would you articulate that mission? What would you say your mission is to the people listening?
Well, maybe I can say it like this, and you can reel me in if I go too sideways. I am a highly sensitive person. Okay. We believe that highly sensitive people are about 15 to 20% of the population. And science is starting to back that up by proving things like we have more mirror neurons, that kind of scientific stuff for those of you that like the factual information like that. I'm also a high sensation seeker. Okay. I've had to learn how to understand that about me. And that's really where I come in to teach other people about themselves. I spent so much time in my 20s and 30s being so epically pissed off that we go all the way through our lives without having a class on emotion, on disappointment. 100, I'm also a grief specialist. That's one of my specialties. 100% of us are going to experience grief and loss. We don't get a class in it. So all we do is fumble through and learn from the other people in our lives that have fumbled through without ever mindfully learning about it, doing it better than the last generation. So when I look out at the world, I see this big hole that we have not served to educate our people. And it pisses me off if I'm real with you, because we've known basic psychology, basic human development things since at least the 50s, and we're just not giving it to the population. You shouldn't need a master's degree to understand some of the stuff that I've learned. So I have really felt a drive to give that emotional education, to send it out. I know where my strengths are working one-on-one with people. And really it was from the encouragement of my clients over the years, that in those moments where you finish up session and you do your bookkeeping and you say, hey, yeah, what you doing this weekend? I hope you have a good weekend. And you're walking them out. My clients would say, Nikki, you're really good at this. You know, Nikki, you should have a show. Even my clients, you know, I grew up very, very poor. It was very hard for me. It was a process to be able to charge people money for what I do and work for myself. That was its own growth process. It blew my mind to have clients tell me, Nikki, you should really charge people more. What? I had clients offer to charge me more. So in this way that I could have never done all the healing that I needed to do, it is a collaboration with the universe. So as much as I had to walk my path doing my healing, and everybody listening to us right now, anybody who listens to my show, they're on their path. They're seekers. They're doing their healing. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I do that sometimes. We benefit from knowing and seeing more and more of each other in our real emotional realms, because that's how we learn. We're human beings. We've learned from story, from watching each other. So if all we have to watch are people stumbling through emotionally, how the hell are we ever going to evolve and learn, not just on the individual level, but collectively in our family system? So it has become more and more important to me as I've grown in courage and in strength, because it scared the hell out of me at certain points to be that little girl who had to hold that secret, so much so I had to hide it from myself and repress it, to then have a microphone and share and be here with you right now in this moment, sharing. Just me being myself and showing that, I think, is a lot for people that are out there. And I hope that it gives them permission to show up more authentically in their worlds, to grow and to allow themselves to be different, to allow their younger selves to have not known what they were doing, and to grow. And when each of us commit to expanding in such a way, we're giving each other subconscious permission to also grow and evolve. And I've just felt a calling that's part of why I believe I went through all that pain growing up. I've had 2 divorces. I lost a stepchild I loved like my own along the way. We are such resilient creatures. I really have concern about this modern era that I believe is teaching people that they're delicate, that they need people to use the perfect words and language with them, or they can't be okay. I think teaching that kind of delicacy and teaching that we should be able to control what's coming out of other people's mouths for ourselves to be able to be okay is so wrong and is creating a whole lot of depression. I really want to be a voice against that.
Yeah.
really against it.
I love what you're saying. And I think that in and of itself is so healing to listen to someone like yourself talk about the power of being willing, being able, being daring enough to be yourself is profoundly healing. And it's friggin' hard for a lot of us.
I think it's the hardest thing we could ever do. The hardest thing we could ever do. There's so much in our society that continues to teach us that it's right to be dysfunctional. A lot of what's happened about vaccine mandates and pressures, emotional blackmail and shame, othering people because of something like politics, teaching that righteousness. I can't think of things more toxic to our society than those things. And yet people feel like that activism is right. Yeah. I push against this idea of safe space that's so popular right now and so popularized in mental health. Most of us are walking around with a really dark, critical voice, which means we are not safe spaces for ourselves. I've had other podcasters edit this out of interviews when I've said it because they're scared. They're scared of the pushback if people hearing this. So I had to admit to myself in my own work, I'm not a safe space for myself some of the time. That is a daily task to manage that inner critic, but we're going to get 50 people together and call it a safe space with policing language. That's insanity. And our profession is touting it and telling people it's right. So we are doing some things in mental health that are absolutely wrong. If we were doing it right, our youth wouldn't be depressed. And the suicide rate in our country is skyrocketing. I was just looking at statistics recently. In every other country in the world, suicide rates are going down. Ours are skyrocketing. We're doing a lot wrong. We are doing a lot wrong. So I'm trying to be a real grounded realist for people to start realizing, ooh, these things that sound good, that our egos really like to jump onto, like the shaming kind of activism, they're going to bite us in the ass. We have got to get clear about what is healthy and what is not. We have to let go of this idealism. We've got to get real as counselors, as therapists, as coaches with people about what will really bring them to freedom, to peace, what it is to love and allow other people in this world to be themselves, to have some compassion that we're all working through.
Right.
Craziness. We all are.
Nikki, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
It's to follow the show. It's really to follow Emotional Badass. I don't have anything that I'm selling this moment or promoting. I mean, you can always go buy a sweatshirt that says Emotional Badass to support my show. We have the Patreon for people that are really into my work. I do a monthly live stream Q&A. The last one was on drugs and alcohol. I'm a former French Quarter bartender on top of being an addiction specialist. So I'm a good person to ask all the questions about drugs and alcohol. People in my Patreon are courageous about the questions that they submit. That's where you can find me and you can follow me. You can look at all the other shows I've been on. I think when it comes to healing the messaging of our childhoods, the reality is that it takes listening. That's part of why I wanted to do a show, because I knew that, okay, if something means something to somebody and it's an important piece that they want to hear, they can listen to it over and over again in a way that they can't in a therapy session. Right. So I think understanding that we are reprogramming and we are detoxing from our childhoods and we're detoxing from what's toxic in this world, in this modern culture. And we're learning how to really stand in the truth of we are strong. We are not delicate. We are not. And if you're a survivor out there that's listening, please do not buy into those narratives that say you're so delicate and you need people to treat you delicately. It won't help you. It will not help you feel stronger. It won't help you feel more stable. So following my work is really, it's following those messages to help you learn how to let go of what no longer serves you.
The podcast is Emotional Badass, and I'm sure it's everywhere. Apple, Spotify.
Absolutely everywhere. Yep.
Nikki Eisenhauer, you are a fresh, daring, and inspiring voice. And I'm so freaking glad I got you on this podcast. You came on this podcast. Thank
you guys so much for having me. I hope I wasn't too all over the place.
No, what I said, I mean, I love what you said, and people need to hear it. And you are so inspiring. I'd love to have you back.
Oh, I would love to come back. I would love to come back. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. So much light and love.
All right. Thank you so much for listening and supporting this podcast. And if you'd like to join the hundreds of other therapists who are each month keeping up to date and informed and inspired about what's going on in the world of trauma, I'd love to invite you to head on over to the Trauma Therapist newsletter. That's the traumatherapistnewsletter.com.